Hi, I am going to do a coffee video. I am in our kitchen of our beautiful home. As you can see, it's spectacular. I'm just going to do a kind of quick run around here. You can see Jennifer in the back there. She's working away, keeping the city running. This kitchen happens to have some ridiculous amounts of coffee paraphernalia. As you can see, I have something of an obsession. This beautiful baby right here has been in the family for about 20 years. And Jennifer, she said, now you're gonna have to save for it. You can't just put it on a credit card. And so I built computers and websites 20 years ago to fund, yes, my obsession and hobby. We're gonna be brewing up this coffee right here. It's a mystery. I am gonna be using this tool right here. Coffee grinder is the most important tool that you can have in your kitchen for making coffee. I cannot emphasize that enough. The coffee is the tuner for your coffee. If you want to have good coffee, start with a good grinder. This don't look at that. Don't look at that. That's all right. So there's a story behind this. This particular machine right here, it is kind of gives us a bit of a reminder of when we lived in Barcelona, Spain. We happen to have one of these, and it does brew through one of these capsules. And it's something that it just kind of brings us back to the fond memories that we had. But that's not what we're going to be brewing today. What we're going to be brewing today is from one of these bad boys. This is called an Aeropress. Aeropress is a fantastic device. This happens to be my favorite piece of coffee brewing equipment. I've noticed that my notifications are still on. I've got to mute you. Go away. Announcements. Aha. I don't want anybody else to get disrupted by what's going on with our coffee brewing lesson for the day. It's Saturday morning. Well, it's now Saturday afternoon. There's no bad time for a cup of coffee. I figured right now is a good time to I'm trying to get that red thing out of there. You don't want to work on or look at one of those things. That's so an Aeropress. What is it? An Aeropress is similar to a French press, but this handy contraption with these three pieces basically allows you to do immersion style brewing. And I love this for several reasons. One is you can totally tweak the recipe to your liking and what you fancy. Concentration, extraction. There's some nerds out there that love this thing so much they created a whole competition called the World Aeropress Championship. Now, the World Aeropress Champion that I have met did this beautiful coffee for Kenyan, and spectacular. What you need besides an Aeropress and a grinder is hot water. So I'm going to come over here and kick that bad boy on, and we're going to start also with washing our hands. So forgive me, but you're gonna watch me just spend 30 seconds getting prepared, because we're all in isolation and taking precautions, and we've got to do our part. I'm gonna get soap all over the kitchen. It'll be my job to clean it up afterwards too. And we're having some good time, just scrubbing our hands and making sure that it's well taken care of. I happen to be wearing one of my very favorite shirts. I figured if I'm sheltering in place, I'm going to be comfortable. I'm also, this is where you have the problem with how do you shut it off and not get contaminated. Well, take your towel and shut off your water with the towel. Back at you. Oh, so my obsession doesn't end there. I've got a whole Lazy Susan of coffee contraptions. This happens to be a coffee roaster. It actually does a really great job of roasting coffee. And I'm looking for a filter. Look at all of this. This is terrible. Look, I have a whole Lazy Susan full of, well, that's enough. I got inspired to do this video after watching Alton Brown. I love Alton Brown. Alton Brown's just one of my heroes. And he did a sheltering in place video with his wife cooking a couple of nights ago in their kitchen, and just kind of sharing, you know, what they do at home. If you're at home and you're looking to brew up some coffee, again, we're going to do the Aeropress. Another reason why I love this thing is this part right here. It's a paper filter. Paper filters do a couple of things. They do capture and grab some of the oils. Not everybody is a fan that it captures some of the oils. Some people use a gold filter for that reason, because they want to have the oils go through. But I actually like how much of the oils that it does capture, it lends itself to the overall cup. And I kind of make my choices based on the fact that I'm using this kind of filter. Another thing about this is it also captures the fines. So if your grinder might not, if you don't have a $3,000 Malkonig EK43 happen to be sitting in your kitchen, I don't have that, and you've got fines in your coffee when you're using a French press, this gives you a much cleaner cup. So I like the paper filter for that, and it just happens to go into this piece right here, and I just get it seated in there. I am a fan of the reverse inversion method of brewing an Aeropress, but the way that the instructions are, and the world Aeropress champion has said, is to do it with your cup and the Aeropress right on top of the cup. Put the grounds in, put the water in there, and then you put this in sideways and then pull up just a little bit, and it'll help suck the water in there and create a negative vacuum to hold the water in place, and it won't drip down into the cup. I don't do it that way. The way that I do it is I first insert the plunger, and I remove this, and I set this on the countertop. I'm gonna have to figure out how I can get you guys to be able to see that. I might have to do it over there so that you can see, but I'm gonna have to do this so you guys can capture what it is that I'm doing. Now, I talked about the grinder. It's the most important tool that you can have in your arsenal for the brewing of your coffee. It really is the tuner. Well, how fine and how coarse? So there are some specific instructions if you're using espresso, like that beautiful beast right there. I haven't named her. I need to name her. She's just been treating our family really well. If you're just now coming in, thanks for joining the video. I saved many months building computers and websites to be able to have her, so I'm very thankful that that's in our household. She needs a really fine grind because the amount of water contact time is very short. 30 seconds or so, 27 to 30 seconds is optimal. Now, if you're doing a French press, you're going to want a coarser grind because your contact time is going to be 4 minutes in an immersion, and coffee and the soluble things that are in it can get extracted over that 4 minutes. An Aeropress does a little bit of both. You have a full immersion, plus you're adding pressure with the plunger, and so I like a medium grind. And here, like I said, Alton Brown is such a huge part of my life. I went and got one of these in his favor. So this holds kosher salt. Kosher salt is probably the coarsest grind that I would use, and just feeling it, it is perfect for like the French press. One is it's gonna, having a coarser grind, the screen is gonna capture those grounds. That's also one that I particularly like using for a Chemex. Now, not every household needs 2 Chemexes. We are obsessive about our coffee here, but I like a coarser grind for a Chemex because that paper filter for it does capture a lot. We'll do another video on a Chemex. We'll do another video on a French press. But since this is kind of my first video for training, I wanted to use my favorite tool and kind of go over some of those basics. So we're gonna go a little bit finer than kosher salt, probably closer to table salt. And what the grinder does is it doesn't just bust things up, it shaves the coffee. So as the beans go through the burrs of a grinder, it just shaves it off and it creates little discs. And that also increases it increases the surface area for you to be able to get the yummy goodness out of the coffee. I can hear the water starting to boil over there. I'm gonna head that direction. I just want to slow down how fast this begins to boil. So that right there is a Hario kettle, gooseneck kettle. That is a cast iron pan. I'm talking about this guy right here is a gooseneck kettle. Very important tool also for brewing, for your pour over coffee when you're doing a bloom and a couple other steps. Another lesson for later. So let's get to grinding some coffee. I'm gonna head over that direction. How much coffee do you use? Well, for an Aeropress, I like 10 to 1. So I'm gonna be using 170 grams of water for this. I've used this thing so much you can't even see the marks on that right there. The 170 grams is a really good solid number for putting into the chamber. And I'm gonna put my cup over here too. So I'm in my pajamas and my favorite shirt in my kitchen, sharing with you how to brew in an Aeropress. So thanks for joining us. I'm gonna weigh out how much coffee here. This particular scale is a 10th gram scale. I want to try and get you guys closer. Let me just get you closer here. If I need to, I'm going to make an adjustment on my tripod so I can get you even closer. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. You got to see what's going on here. This is important stuff. That's my... Sorry about all the shaking. I know we had an earthquake last night. That's not what's going on your camera right now. One second. All right, so my grinder is already pre-adjusted. There's micro adjustments on here, and this one is freely adjustable. I do like this grinder a lot. It does a really great job of doing that shaving of the coffee. It's also unique in that the outer burr spins instead of the center one. The center one stays still and the outer burr grinds around it, versus a standard conical. This is actually a flat burr grinder where the top part spins and the bottom part holds still. Again, we're trying to get that shaving of the coffee, not just beating it up and chopping it. Boulders and fines make it more difficult. The boulders and fines, when you have big grounds of coffee and little tiny fines, you have uneven extraction and you just don't have a consistent cup. So we're going to start with a really great grinder with an appropriate grind and then we'll add the other ingredients. Water. So, how much coffee? Thank you, Rebecca, for my beautiful coffee scoop. Oh, this was a Tanzania peaberry. This is a really beautiful coffee too. But that's not what we're going to brew today. We're going to brew It's a Mystery. So, thanks to Julie, we have this beautiful coffee as well, which we might end up putting to market. I'm really a fan. So, it wasn't something that we blend together on a regular basis. Each scoop so far has been 5 grams. So I'm at 10 grams. I'm at 14.7 and 16.2. I am a professional bean counter. So 17.2, close enough. So 17.2, like I said, I am going to be using 170 grams of water in the Aeropress. And so for the Aeropress, I'm going to be using a 10-to-1 ratio. So that 10-to-1 ratio is really strong. Not as strong as a concentration as you would in espresso, but it's far stronger than you would in a French press or pour over. So let's grind this. We're sheltering in place. I'm at home. Don't touch your face. So good. All right, I need to somehow get this into the Aeropress. I'm just gonna walk around with this in my hand, and that's not what I want. Here, I think I'm finding what I want. I'll just use this. So something flexible. Let's get you back over here. So the coffee grounds is that around not as coarse as kosher salt, about as fine as table salt, but certainly not as fine as the espresso grind. So I'm gonna, if you can see, this is the inverted method. This is not the typical way that you would use an Aeropress based on the instructions from the manufacturer. But this is the way that I like doing it. I'll tell you that it's a little unstable when you do this. So I've got this thing on a loose scale, and there's not as much of a foot on this part of it, so you got to be super careful because I'm about to bring over the water. Now, let me grab our water from the stove. I'm a right-handed guy, so I got to grab from the right hand. Now, this is right below boiling temperature, but I want to let it sit for just a second or two. I don't have a thermometer on this particular one. There is a gooseneck kettle that we carry at the shop made by Fellow, and it has a built-in thermometer. I love that, to be able to see just exactly what your temperature is. But I know that after about 20 seconds or so that we're back at temperature. I'm going to tear out the Aeropress on the scale, and we're going to start a timer, and I'm going to just give about 40 grams of the water. And because this is a little mobile, I just kind of stir it that way. I'm going to show you another way that why I love this contraption. So I'm trying to get as much extraction out of the coffee as possible. So right at 30 seconds, I'm going to add the rest of my water. And I'm pouring in a circular motion because I'm trying to upset the beds of the coffee as best as I can. And I've got to grab my filter. With the filter, I'm going to come over to the sink. Hi, Jen. She's working hard back there. I'm going to just preheat and rinse that filter. Try not to burn yourself with that hot water on your finger. I came really close. And right at 1:30 seconds, I'm going to do this really neat trick that I like for an Aeropress. I'm going to slap this onto there, and I've got my cup, and this is one of those things that I do for every time I want to make an Aeropress, is do a roll. I forgot to pull a little bit out of there. That just kind of helps to upset the bed again. And I'm going to do a full 2 minutes and 30 seconds because this is under some pressure. I'm not going to go all the way to 4 minutes like you would in an immersion for a French brew. But with the pressure of the Aeropress, my recipe at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'm going to press that down under pressure. How much pressure is just enough to have a resistance, and then I would like to see about 20 seconds or so of it fully getting pressed out. The first part of it is going to be the liquid that's been brewing in there with the espresso, and then the second part will be in air. And it just kind of, on the rude side, it will burp at you. And I'm right on time with how fast that I'm pressing it. So another really great reason why I love this contraption is just how simple it is to clean. So I'm going to toss this into the sink, and then it creates this beautiful puck. So that puck of coffee that's sitting up there has given up all of its yummy goodness, and in my cup I've got beautiful coffee. Now this is highly concentrated coffee, and one of the recommendations from, it smells so good. One of the recommendations is that you create this concentration and then you can add some more hot water. So I do that to taste. I don't do it to any particular dissolved solids or ratio. I do have a refractometer at my disposal, and I'm not going to break that out. I want to just taste good coffee. So yeah, see, right there, that's right for me. I hope that you have enjoyed this. I will do a few more. This was completely unscripted. I just grabbed the camera and threw it up and wanted to talk about my love for coffee and share just a lesson about how to brew with the Aeropress. It's been a kind of a challenging week for everyone. Not really sure what to do if you're sheltering in place. I say more coffee is more better, but I am blessed to be where I am with being surrounded with the family that I have. I'm extremely thankful for our employees and the team that's out there at our shop on Clark Avenue. Please go visit them, say hi, support them. Because of the work that they're doing out there, we want to keep them employed. We want to keep them working. Go through the drive-through, order online. You can also use DoorDash for your delivery, but please support our employees. They're going to make you a great cup of coffee as well. They're also going to serve you some wonderful things. Our shop does support many other vendors and restaurants around the community. So shopping local does make a huge impact. Wash your hands. Enjoy a good cup of coffee. I'm going to sign off. Pull strong. We're going to pull through. Thanks, everybody.